and they seem to have many more men that they're willing to risk their lives. So it's kind of a brute force versus the high morale of the Ukrainian troops. But what's interesting is that we're seeing in Severodonetsk that Ukraine is actually regaining some territory.
On these missile systems, the US were promising this, the UK are agreeing now. Is this seen as good news? It was explained to me that there's still quite a lag between the promises being made and these things are arriving on the ground.
Yeah, I mean, it's hard to say exactly how long they do take to arrive, but the UK, for example, has said that Ukrainian troops will be trained how to use them in the UK. So that's certainly going to take some time, and then they obviously have to transport them over there. Soldiers I was speaking to yesterday, who are in the sort of northeast front line around Izium, they were, they welcome news of this. Was before the British announcement came, so that was just the US one. But they're talking about a handful of units there of them, and that's definitely not going to make its way into every frontline position. So, yeah, there's still a sense of we want more, and also when will they actually arrive?
Yeah, and meanwhile, what is the current situation as you read it in Donbass? Is there a sense that we were so used to the war effectively going poorly for the Russians and the Ukrainians acting above expectations? Is that not quite the case in the Donbass region?
I think it definitely somewhat switched just because of the type of war that it has become. It's become this kind of gruelling slog where Russia is just able to massively outgun Ukraine. They have much more ammo. They have, for example, they have more rockets to put in the mortars. They've got more actual kind of mortar tubes to fire them from, and they seem to have many more men that they're willing to risk their lives. So it's kind of a brute force versus the high morale of the Ukrainian troops. But what's interesting is that we're seeing in Severodonetsk that Ukraine is actually regaining some territory, and we know from the kind of early weeks of the war that Ukraine is good and works well in these urban type situations. So it'll be interesting to see if capturing those larger cities kind of holds Russia back from what had been steady but slow progress.
And what's the sort of propaganda position, I suppose, or the politics position? Zelensky's been in the east. What is the talk coming out of the Ukrainian government? Is this a position where they're saying if we hang in there, this extra military support will arrive, we can effectively win in the Donbass region? What sort of noises are coming from Zelensky?
I mean, he has said it is very difficult, but with that has come no idea that of conceding territory or that they cannot still win. It's become again happens to do it. I mean that his foreign minister the other day responded to Macron's suggestion that we shouldn't humiliate Russia. That went down pretty badly. And it was quite a kind of direct response to the idea that they should concede any territory. And all the soldiers I speak to again, they say their morale is high, and still it's got to be victory.
Just finally, Antonia, I've been speaking to the Ukrainian ambassador a couple of weeks ago, and he was saying the great fear is that people get bored of the war in the West, or people get fatigue from caring about it, or they just get distracted by other things. News stories rise, cost of living crises in every country start to bite. Is that a concern that you hear expressed, that the Ukrainians have done all this with the support of the West? Are they ever worried that the interest will wane or support will wane?
Yeah, I think so. I've been talking to quite a lot of people recently, asking them about this kind of milestone of the 100 days of war mark, and there are very few who don't bring up Ukraine fatigue. For example, I was talking to some guys in Kharkiv who started a foundation, sort of volunteering foundation, like almost everyone else in Ukraine, given up their normal jobs to volunteer since the start of the war. And they were saying that when they gave a live broadcast on international TV at the start of the war, about 2 months ago, they instantly received kind of over £2,500 equivalent of in donations from those who are watching the broadcast, and they did the same a few weeks ago and received about £20. So they're definitely aware of it.